Hello, students. Today we are going to do the second part of the essay written by Eliot, Tradition and Individual Talent. And the second part of the essay is about the concept of impersonality. Now, in this, Eliot argues, and I quote, when he says that honest criticism and sensitive appreciation are directed not upon the poet but upon the poetry. Unquote. Now, this line hints at the actual beginning of new creation, where the focus will shift from the author to the text. Eliot here defines the poet's responsibility. He says that the poet is not supposed to compose poetry which is full of his personal emotions. He must subscribe himself to something more valuable. That is what others have composed in the past. So, what is he trying to say here? Here, Eliot is emphasizing objectivity in poetry. He believes that some sort of physical distancing is necessary for successful composition. He also mentions that the poet has to merge his personality with the tradition. I quote, "The progress of the artist is a continual self sacrifice, a continual extinction of personality. The mind of the poet is a medium in which experiences can enter new combinations." Now, Eliot exemplifies this process by giving us an example from science, from a scientific laboratory, if I may say so. He explains this by saying that when oxygen and sulfur dioxide are mixed in the presence of a filament of platinum, they form sulfuric acid. That is, a new thing is formed. And this combination takes place only in the presence of platinum, which acts as the catalyst. Now, what is a catalyst? Catalyst is a substance which speeds up a chemical reaction. And he says that this sulfuric acid shows no trace of platinum and remains unaffected. And this catalyst facilitates a chemical change but does not participate in the chemical reaction and remains unchanged. Uh, Now, what I can or we can understand from this is, as students of science in the lower classes, we've studied physical change and a chemical change, and we saw how milk used to change into curd because of some lactic acid, lactose, etc., that was present in it. Now, let's not go into the details of the reaction, but just understand this, that a new thing was formed, that is, curd was formed, and curd was not something that which could go back to its original form, that is milk. Now, Eliot, by giving us this example, is trying to compare the mind of the poet to that shred of platinum, which he says, and I quote again, is it digests and transmutes the passion which are its material. So, with the help of this analogy, he suggests the catalyst's role in a chemical process in a scientific laboratory for this process of depersonalization. Let me explain this with the help of another example. Now, there was this person, Stephen Dedalus, and Eliot was very much influenced by this person who declared that the artist is like the god of this creation, who remains within or behind or beyond or above his handiwork, invisible, refined, out of existence, indifferent, paring his fingernails. This is a quote that I have quoted. Now, what is he trying to say here is that God has created this creation, but he is not visible. We cannot see him. We cannot see this creator. He he we can only experience him. So, similarly, what he is trying to say in this theory of impersonality is that a poet's personality must not be reflected into his poetry. The poet should be aloof from his poetry. This is what Eliot is trying to tell us. Now, Eliot sees the poet's mind as a receptacle for seizing and storing up numberless feelings, phrases, images which remain there until all the particles which can unite to form a new compound are present together. Now, he says that concepts like sublimity, greatness, intensity of emotions are irrelevant. It is not the greatness of the emotion that matters, but the intensity of the artistic process, the pressure under which the artistic process takes place. That is important. So, in this way, he disassociates the notion on the artistic process from an added emphasis on genius and the exceptional mind. Eliot also refutes the idea that poetry is the expression of a poet's personality. Experiences in the life of a man may have no place in his poems, and vice versa. The emotion occasioned by events in the personal life of the poet are not important. What matters is the emotion transmuted into poetry, the feelings expressed in the poetry, emotions which he has never experienced will serve his turn as well as those familiar to him. Now, Eliot critiques Wordsworth's definition of poetry in his preface to the Lyrical Ballads, where Wordsworth says that poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings which takes place in or which are recollected in tranquility. This is a very famous definition of Wordsworth which we've always studied in literature. This is the definition of Wordsworth's definition of poetry. Now, T.S. Eliot, uh, in a way, rejects this. He critiques Wordsworth's definition of poetry. For Eliot, poetry is not recollection of feeling. It is a new thing resulting from the concentration of a very great number of experiences. It is a concentration which does not happen consciously or of deliberation. Eliot's definition, or how Eliot defines poetry, defines this is when he says that poetry is not a turning loose of emotion, but it is an escape from emotion. It is not the expression of personality, but an escape from personality. So, for him, the emotion of art is impersonal, and the artist can achieve this impersonality only by being conscious of the tradition. He's talking about the poetic tradition and neglects the fact that even the poetic tradition is a complex mixture of written and oral poetry and the elements that go into them. It was only in his later writings that he realized that in poetic composition many elements are involved. So, Eliot, over here, in whatever I have talked about, he has tried to explain his theory of impersonality. And in the next lecture, we'll talk about some of the important passages from his essay Tradition and Individual Talent.